And just like that, the 2022-23 LVSHL season comes to a close. A year of twists, turns, joy, fog, and farewells to another group of seniors. Despite the league losing its home base in the rink at Lehigh Valley after the previous year, Scholastic hockey in the Lehigh Valley managed to survive and have an overall well-maintained season, even with the amount of games being shortened from 16 to 12. As for the postseason, what a time it was for the teams that made it. Thanks to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, the LVSHL had spectacular playoff games at the PPL Center, especially in the varsity division. But before we dive into the three teams that just fell short of the championship title and the champions themselves, there are three teams that didn't make the playoffs. Let us discuss. For our first team to discuss is a group that finished last in the standings, the Central Catholic Saints, making the finals in 2021 and 2022, and then going 1-11-0 to me shows that the loss of seniors really began to show on the ice. Although it wasn't a totally bad start, their only victory would come against Parkland with a decisive 10-6 win. They lost to Southern Lehigh the next week but played relatively well, only being defeated 4-3. After that, let's just say that the team would not like to think about it. Even for their struggles, the Saints still had pieces from the previous season's core, like Henry Long, Christopher Nuziata, Ethan DeLillo, Sean Ambrogi, and others. Duncan Mittletree had a 6-point game during the year, as the Saints will reset and try again next season. At least they had their runs, be proud of that. Our next team in the Parkland Trojans are in a very similar predicament as Central Catholic. Another team with a loss of seniors hurting them now. Yes, seniors leave high school sports teams every year, but the Trojans didn't have enough reinforcements to make up for it. Unlike the Saints, Parkland had its runs of massive success. Winning 11 straight league titles from 2010 to 2020 is remarkable, but the Trojans' empire has now passed its prime. At least you earn a 3-2 victory over the Saints and have some interesting prospects to keep an eye on. Like Eric Zager, putting together a 7-goal, 5-assist, 12 points in 12-game season. Sawyer Marsteller, Connor McGinty are just a few that need more time to develop for the future. And then there is the guy in net, Nate Torres, who I consider to be quite underrated throughout the year. His stats may not show it, but the goaltending qualities he possesses shows promise. And not just with Parkland, but also how he did with Phantom's youth. If his team improves next season, perhaps he will shine in the light. As the age of Parkland dominance may be over, we may never see a true dynasty like the Parkland Trojans had ever again. The final of the 3 eliminated teams is the Phillipsburg Stateliners. I won't go too deep into what happened in the duration of the first 7 games because, well, yeah. Not to say that the entire season was all for naught. As the calendar changed from 2022 to 2023, P-Burg did something that they haven't done in a 400-day span: win a hockey game. A 7-4 victory over the Trojans was earned. As the Stateliners finally snapped their 18-game losing streak, the W's would not stop there. The Stateliners ended their season winning 4-5. Yes, all of their wins were against lower-tier opponents, but their 4-game winning streak was the most they've had since 2019. Not to mention those who were on their roster. Other than the win streak, Shane Redden was a huge positive. 28 points in 9 games, and he's one of the best players in the LVSHL. David McIsaac had a good season as well, with 9 points in 8 games. And Katie Kratzler. I like how she played with Phantom's youth this season. Will P-Burg break through next fall? Time will tell with that. Now with that out of the way, it's time to go over the 4 teams that competed for championship glory. Starting with Alright, Bethlehem, an 8-win season surely shows promise for a date with championship destiny. All you need to do is beat Southern Lehigh. Again, with that loaded offense and formidable defense, you definitely have a real shot this year. In fact, we need some motivation. How about let's post Herb Brooks' speech from Miracle on our social media 7 times before the game. This will definitely age well even if we somehow find a way to lose.
Oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
As the game commences, the yellow and black trail early on due to Eric Kloss. The offense is playing competitively but needs more quality chances if they wish to beat Blake better in net. They answer the call. Thanks to Anthony Greco once again being obsessed with being in the box of shame, Bethlehem wastes no time and ties the game at 1 thanks to Brady Rose. But the offense would not stop there. One of the biggest fans of the channel, and Dominic Natosi, scores less than a minute later and gives the Spartans legit fear. After both teams share equal blows on the score sheet, the Lehigh Valley offense is now taking center stage. A 4-2 lead and outshooting the Spartans 28-17, reaching the end of the second period, should bring quite the momentum going into the third. But then, vice versa happened. Remember how Bethlehem scored 2 goals in less than a minute earlier? The Spartans decided to do the same, and tie the Laces at 4. Now the game is getting tense. With 1 minute to go in the third, we are tied at 5. Surely Bethlehem can hold on for overtime, right?
As now Jack and Casey move 2-1-2. Last minute to play in regulation. We're tied at 5. Can Casey's shot. Glove save.
The Geico Greco haunts your dreams and puts your season to a painful end. To be completely honest with you, Bethlehem, despite the score sheet, you outplayed Southern Lehigh in the majority of this game. This was not the Spartans' game plan, but a victory for you was just not meant to be. Better luck next year.
Kicking? Oh, I want to do some kicking.
Why, you? What?
If Nazareth is to have any sort of success in the playoffs, they will need 2 things to go their way. The first would be improvements to their main weakness, offensive production. They rank 5th out of 7 teams in the varsity division for goals being produced. The second key is simply one man. In goal, number 30, Ryan Murphy. He has been lights out all year, and he saved 43 of 44 shots on net the last time they played Northampton. These 2 teams met in the last game of the regular season, as a matter of fact. Even though the kids won the game 1-0, this proves that the Eagles can compete with their playoff opponent. I must make a confession though. I made a bold prediction before the playoffs began. I had the Eagles making the finals. Let's see how silly I look from this guess. So far in the first period, the Eagles have checked off one requirement for victory. Murphy is standing tall, stopping 18 of 18. However, hello? Offense? Are you there? I don't think 5 shots on net is a good sign now, is it? Ryan Murphy can only unleash his inner Dominic Hasek before a puck slips through him. Even though the game has been in a deadlock for about half the time, the emergence of a playoff warrior begins his reign. Lorenzo Tita from Northampton. He found a way to score on Ryan Murphy. There's only 2 ways you can. Either a great tip in front, or catch him off his guard. The Eagles need to buckle down effective immediately. Even for the lack of shots on net, it's still only a 1-goal game going into the third. Then, a break occurred. Tyler Glenn rushed the other way and a shed of light glared into the PPL Center. Nazareth finally has offense!
Finally!
That's great, as we are tied at 1 in the final 5 minutes of the game. Unfortunately, that's where the good things end for the Eagles. Tyler Glenn, for being the hero that tied the matchup, unintentionally gave Northampton a chance to take the lead after tripping Lorenzo Tita. 3.5 minutes left to go in the playoff game. Can Ryan Murphy bail out his team yet again?
Bryce Jockey on the right circle, back into St. Murphy, rebound, scores! Matute gives Northampton the lead! Power play goal! And it's 2-1 Northampton!
That answer is no. Nazareth loses 2-1 and their season is over. I'll give you credit for keeping it close, but it just wasn't enough. If the LVSHL had a Vesna trophy, I would give it to Ryan Murphy. He played like a god all year, and he deserves some recognition for it. You know what? Here! Please accept this non-existent trophy, Ryan. Hurry! Grab it from the screen before it disappears. Too late! As we reach the Phantoms Cup final, it shall be a best-of-3 series between two powerful heavyweight champions of the last 2 seasons. Ranked with the number 1 seed and ranked as a top 15 high school hockey team in the state of Pennsylvania is the Northampton Concrete Kids. They have been dominating their opponents in the majority of games played this season, and they have a chance to win their second LVSHL title in varsity in 3 years. Their last obstacle is the only team that they have lost to this entire year, and that is the defending champion Southern Lehigh Spartans. Having the 2nd seed and winning the 2022 LVSHL title was impressive, but the fact that they made it here even for having a lesser talented roster than last year and having only 13 total players on the active roster is a statement on not just the players alone, but the excellent coaching behind their backs. Let's now go over what happened to these two teams in a fight to the death, one game at a time. As the puck is dropped at the PPL Center to the sight of an eager crowd, the finals have commenced. In the last meeting between these two foes, the Spartans had their most impressive victory of the year, defeating the Kids 6-1, but there was only one catch. Ryder Alt and Bryce Shockey were out for that game. They are both key players for Northampton, and they are now at full strength, and it's showing in the first period. Anthony Greco got physical near the bench and it costed him. Back to the box he goes.
Bit of misery, dilly dilly. Yeah.
On the man advantage, the recently mentioned Ryder Alt made a great tip in front of the goal, but the score 1-0 would not remain the same for long. Not to say that the Spartans responded a good time, and would end up being Gavin Molikov's day today. He would score a hat-trick while showcasing his abilities. The Spartans killer known as Lorenzo Tita displayed his magic as well to maybe get a tryout with the Phantoms, and Southern Lehigh kept running into a wall. Its name is Balance Margiassi. Heck, about 9 minutes into the first period, it was 3-0 Northampton and the game was all but over. There's a reason why the Concrete Kids are ranked so high in the state. A 5-1 victory would back that up and would earn a 1-0 lead in a best-of-3 series. The Kids would get a chance at championship glory in the coming days for Game 2. Little did they know, it would come harder to achieve than once thought. Now the heat is picking up for Southern Lehigh. Speaking of heat, apparently it is really hot while playing on the ice at the PPL Center. Not that the ice was melting, of course, but the players were melting for sure. A change was made by the blue and white. Back on senior night, the Spartans debuted new uniforms designed by defenseman James Penninger. The plan was to wear them for the rest of the year, but there was a problem. The jerseys were bigger and used different materials, causing the Spartans to feel more heat than necessary. There was also the belief of superstitions creeping into the minds of the locker room. With that, a change was made. The route of nostalgia was applied. Southern Lehigh went back to their previous uniforms. As Boris Litvak is trying to kill his teammates, the Spartans are one loss away from elimination. Game 2 has now become must-win.
Yeah.
SLSD is in very familiar territory, however. In Game 2 of last year's final, the Spartans were down 1-0 in a series against the Central Catholic Saints. They made a comeback down 2-1 on a penalty kill thanks to the former captain Patrick Laughlin. As they are hyped to oblivion coming onto the ice, the Spartans will live or die on this day. As Lorenzo Tita exposes Jack Casey on the fence, the kids score not even 1 minute into the game. Of course. But it's okay, the score's only 1-0 and the Spartans are just fine! Except when Hayden Lambert, out of all people, extends the lead, making it 2-0. He was on a 9-game goalless streak. Then Tita almost makes it 3-0 with a wraparound attempt goal. It failed. He then tried it again. This time, it worked. 3-0 Northampton. Valence Margiossi still proven to be an unsolvable Rubik's Cube for the blue and white to solve. Yeah, this game is getting ugly and fast. As the trophy is being prepared to be awarded to Northampton, the kids just have to kill off the clock to secure victory. Southern Lehigh, it was nice knowing you, but I regret to inform you that the clock is about to strike midnight on your season. There was definitely nothing else that occurred in this game. Nope, not at all. Not even a minute later, Eric Kloss extends his goal streak to 6 games and gets the Spartans on the board. Meh. I'm not getting my hopes up. The kids have too much firepower to give up this lead. They're not going to blow it. As the Spartans intend to survive, they must find a way to live by any means necessary. All the little plays count. Like this simple clear here made by Jack Casey. Oh, I mean a great pass!
He scores!
Oh my, we have got a game now! Even if the Minutemen lose, I'm just so proud of this team just to get back into the game. As Jack Casey dumps the puck to center ice, and oh my god, no way!
MJ Edwards scores! The game is tied! MJ Edwards!
Am I dreaming? Excuse me, I need to pinch myself to make sure I'm not asleep right now. Nope, I'm awake, and we are going to overtime. I know that for some of you, this is the type of game that can cause multiple heart attacks. I beg to differ. This is a broadcaster's dream. I live for this type of chaos. Blake Benner in net has been strong and mighty all game, and just like all season, he's willing to do anything and everything in order for his team to win. He's keeping this team in it in overtime. As Nicholas Shockey breaks the stick of Ethan Myrick, the Spartans gain possession at center ice.
Hungry, here comes MC Edwards! Edwards, he scores! The Spartans live to see another day!
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you the newest Southern Lehigh legend. I must apologize, for I need to put some respect on the name. M.J. Edwards! Now with 5 goals against Northampton all season, this had to be the greatest game broadcasted of the history of Knicks hockey broadcast. And guess what? We're not done. We got Game 3 next. About 1 week of rest was granted for both teams as they get ready for the Lehigh Valley's incarnation of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Game 3. Winner takes the championship. The loser, well, you don't get first place, I'll tell you that. This is the second consecutive postseason where Game 3 is deemed necessary. What a time for hockey in the Lehigh Valley. While Northampton is prepared to not collapse, Southern Lehigh is a little banged up. First, there is Ethan Myrick. He got hit hard by Nicholas Koch and is dealing with pain in his knee. Thankfully, he is fine and he's able to play. The next injury was a little bit more scary back in Game 2. Starting goaltender Blake Benner. Ryder all unintentionally ran into him on a break, and the collision caused Blake to feel pain in his neck. I spoke to him 2 days later and he said he was only dealing with some soreness after the fact. Benner would also be good to play by game day. All of that aside, Northampton must beware. The Spartans have the perfect defenseman, the wrecking ball of Jack Kakasi. I wouldn't mess with that guy, as the seats fill up from parents and energetic student sections from both sides. Everything is on the line now, for both teams. 12 seniors, 2 squads, 1 trophy, and 1 last broadcast for the LVSHL. Trust me, this game was emotional for me too. Here we go. Kloss for the draw against Molokov, and we are underway in Game 3. It's the Spartans and the kids.
Blocked away there. Here's Tita. He scores! 8 seconds in! Lorenzo Tita, and it's 1-0.
Wow, I guess when I called Tita back in my playoff preview that he has the speed of lightning and the roar of thunder, that it ended up being pretty accurate. 8 seconds in, 1-0 Northampton. Both teams throughout this duel of fates did not seem to have any interest in becoming BFFs. Not at all. Meanwhile, Nolan Sargent is now serving a penalty as the Spartans are playing very undisciplined thus far. As SL goes on the penalty kill, I'll let Eric Kloss tell you what happens next.
Here comes Kloss moving in! He scores!
Eric, wearing that magical Patrick Laughlin number 7, can give the only logical explanation on how this freshman can be so talented. An all-star that is not in the making, but one who is an all-star already. James Penniker got the puck deep and cashed in to give the Spartans a 2-1 lead, ironically scoring the second goal for SL in 2 straight games. Even for that, the power play in the postseason has been a massive struggle. Coach Greco has addressed that several times in the locker room, if I may add. Southern Lehigh needs to improve it in order to gain victory. By the way, has anyone seen Anthony Greco? He's been missing on the score sheet since the game versus Bethlehem. He was last seen in the penalty box. The 3-minute mark in the first is reached, as Northampton ties the laces at 2 from Bryce Shockey. In the second, the game remained rather consistent for both sides. Late in it, the Spartans had their chance. Christian Ivenko was in the box for the kids. The opportunity here was huge from SL. It was a total disaster.
Now here comes Tita again, short-handed. They score!
How is this guy so good? How? The third and final regulation period had begun, and even for all the successes and mistakes from both sides, it was only a 1-goal game. 3-2 Northampton. Another break pass then occurred from Tita. What do you think happens here?
Tita moving on in. He's all alone. Tita, he scores!
Is this guy related to Connor McDavid or something? The Spartans are slowly falling into a pit of despair, as I am in the broadcast booth. Hayden Lambert had 3 goals coming into the playoffs. He scored again for a second straight playoff game. If that didn't finish off the game in an empty net would. It was over. Time would wind down. A 6-2 score was displayed. A horn was sounded, and cheers could be heard.
The Northampton Concrete Kids are the 2023 LVSHL Phantoms Cup champions.
Northampton will become the kings of the Lehigh Valley. A great season for both teams, but one had to win and the other had to lose. Notable players like Lorenzo Tita, Gavin Molokov, Ryder Alt, Brock Lazarus, McCray Ross, Balin Smargiassi, and others would feel the moment of championship glory. As for Southern Lehigh, I would take this time to express my thanks and gratitude, but that deserves its own video. I'm not ready to truly say goodbye just yet. Stay tuned for that. But with the trophies handed out, it's time for me, Nick's Hockey Broadcast, to sign off. My next video displays my thanks and the future plans of the channel. Thanks for watching.